Hey, are you a high achiever who struggles with perfectionism? Do you get stuck in the cycle of overthinking? Do you do everything for everyone else because you think otherwise it won't get done? Do you feel like you should come with a disclaimer? Hi, I'm anxious. Hey, I'm Katy. Full disclosure, I'm not a therapist, doctor, or mental health professional. I'm just a career mama who also struggles with anxiety. For me, anxiety reared its head at the most inconvenient times when I wanted to be present with my family, at those high pressure business meetings, when I was laying in bed awake at night worrying instead of sleeping. I just wanted to relax and be able to have fun, and I know that you do too. What if you found tools to manage your anxiety? What if you knew how to enjoy life even though you are anxious? Look, it's time to put down that third cup of coffee and swap it for some lemon water. We're going to get control over anxiety so it can stop controlling you. Let's go, girl. Friends, welcome. How are you? I hope you're well. I've been feeling good, just coming off a family vacation, feeling refreshed, and so happy to be chatting with all of you. Today, we're going to talk about the beast that is overthinking and how it steals time from us and can cause us to worry to the point of panicking, causes us to add unnecessary additional stress into our daily lives, and can increase our anxiety. And the good news is that there is one thing that can stop the overthinking from doing this to you right now. But before we dive into today's episode, would you please take a minute to celebrate with me that this show is currently in the top 3% of podcasts in the world, according to Listen Notes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this happen, friends. It's because of you, dear listener, that this is possible. I do this show because of you, and because of you, the show is now ranking in the top 3% of podcasts in the world. Amazing. I'm so grateful. If you haven't already done so, would you please take 1 minute to go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review the show? By doing that, you not only give me important information I need to create the shows that help you, but they also help other people, incredible high achieving women just like you, to find the show. I'd be so, so grateful if you would do that for me. Thank you. So let's talk about overthinking. If you're an overthinker, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have been there before, way too many times to count. You're in a meeting, sitting at dinner, or you've sat down to actually do some work and it strikes. Your mind starts listing off all of the things that you have to do, and then it tells you that you don't know what the priority is, and that you don't have enough time to do what needs to be done, and how you should be able to handle everything you have to do, but you can't. And then your mind is off and running. Your breath quickens, your heart beats faster, you start panicking, and you feel like you might even get to the point of a full blown panic attack. You can relate, right? Before you know it, you've spent 5, 10, 20 minutes spinning in overwhelm from this overthinking. And you've wasted precious time in overthinking and worrying and getting yourself worked up when instead you could be taking action on the things that you want to do instead. So here's the good news. These things that are causing you to reach the worrying, panicking, anxiety ridden state are just thoughts, and you can control your thoughts. And your thoughts can control how you feel and what you do, how you act. And acting will get you out of this spinning thoughts and into forward motion, which can create momentum, which can change the result you're getting, creating a positive movement rather than a negative downward spiral. So, what is the one thing that you can do right now to stop this cycle of overthinking? It's to think a different thought. And I know that might sound counterintuitive. You're already thinking too much. Why does thinking more help? But we're going to talk about that. So, how do you do this? How do you think a different thought? How do you introduce a different thought when you're in this state of overthinking? Let's start with what thoughts you typically think when you're in a cycle of overthinking, okay? I mentioned some already. I have too many things to do. I don't know what the priority is. I don't have enough time to do what needs to be done. I should be able to handle everything I have to do, but I can't. So you notice what you're already thinking. And don't overcomplicate this. Start with one thought that you're having. For the sake of practicing here, let's start with I have too many things to do. So you recognize you're thinking, I have too many things to do. What's next? Let's think about how that thought makes you feel. How do you feel when you think you have too many things to do? I feel anxious. stressed, overwhelmed. I could go on and on here. But it's important to recognize how your thought makes you feel because you need to decide how do you want to feel instead. Because as I mentioned earlier, how you feel determines how you act. Again, for sake of this example, let's say that you're thinking I have too many things to do and it makes you feel overwhelmed. How do you act when you feel overwhelmed? Do you shut down? Do you become panicked? Do you not take action to actually do any of the things you have to do? And if you've shut down, become panicked, or not do what you need to do, what results are you getting? You're fulfilling that initial thought you had, I have too many things to do, right? Because you aren't actually getting any of them done because you're doing other things. You're shutting down, you're becoming panicked. So you're just proving this thought correct. And this is what causes that cycle for you. This is how you stay in the place of having too much to do and feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and panicked. Going back to our example, you're thinking, I have too many things to do. Let's focus here on a thought you could think that would make you feel better than overwhelmed. Let's talk through a couple of thoughts you could think instead. I have as many things as I want to do. I can do one thing right now. I can focus on two things today. How do these new thoughts make you feel? Let's choose the thought, I can do one thing right now. When you think that thought, I can do one thing right now, what feeling comes up for you? How do you feel? Do you feel hopeful? Do you feel focused? Do you feel calm? Wouldn't you rather feel calm, hopeful, and focused rather than overwhelmed, stressed, and panicked? I would. And if you feel calm, hopeful, and focused, how do you think you'd act? Would you pull out your to-do list and choose one thing? Probably, right? And if you've done that, what's your result? You've moved on to doing one thing, and before you know it, that one thing is done. And now, my friend, you have stopped that cycle of overthinking, which had stolen time from you before, made you feel panic, stress, anxiety, and instead you feel better and you've made movement in a more positive direction. And the great news is that same cycle that you go through, thinking you have too much to do, feeling overwhelmed and not taking action, can be interrupted, altered, shifted, and used to go through a cycle that is in the direction you'd rather go, where you think you can do one thing, you feel calm, hopeful, focused, and then you do one thing on your to-do list. Isn't that incredible? Now, it seems so simple, but it isn't necessarily easy, friends. This takes practice, and I have to practice at it every day. But just as with any skill, the more you practice, the better you become. So please, commit to trying this the next time you notice that your overthinking is leading you down a path you don't want to go. Stop, notice the thoughts you're thinking, and then choose a thought that will help you feel how you want to feel, make you take the action you want to get a result that you do want. Now, friends, your homework this week is to come join my free Facebook group so you can share how you've had an opportunity to practice changing your thought this week. You'll find a link to the Facebook group in the show notes. I'd love to have you there, and I look forward to talking with you next week. Hey friend, thanks for being here. Did today's episode help you feel more in control of your anxiety? Did it inspire you to rest or relax? Or maybe it challenged you to really look at why anxiety is a part of your life? If so, I'd love to hear from you. If you would take 30 seconds, pause this episode, scroll down in Apple Podcasts, and leave me a review, I would be so grateful. See you next week. Disclaimer, I am not a medical professional and this podcast is not providing therapy or medical treatment. Contents of the podcast are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider with your health questions and concerns.